video conference without the requirement of a physically present quorum of the Rock Island City Council due to the disaster declaration issued by Governor Pritzker. Because of this order related to COVID-19 health concerns affecting the state and the city, the mayor has determined that an in-person meeting at City Hall with all participants may not be practical or prudent. Alderpersons and staff may not all be physically present at City Hall due to the disaster, and physical attendance at City Hall may be limited. To participate remotely during the public comment or public hearing portion of this meeting, please join by phone at 1-318-519-1270, PIN 260-950-522#.
Thank you very much. Roll call.
Alderman Robinson. Hurt.
Here.
Gilbert. Alderwoman Gilbert.
She's online.
Okay. Swanson. Here. Parker. Poulos.
Here.
Geenan.
Present.
Muted, but they're
Star 6 to unmute. If anybody's muted, we're missing a few. Judith?
Sorry, I'm here. This is Parker.
Okay.
Keenan's here.
Texted me she's here.
Judith, are you here?
She is. She can't talk for some reason.
Okay.
She just texted me.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Public comment. I see in the audience there's nobody here for public comment, but is there anybody virtual for public comment? Quote, seeing none and hearing none, we will move on to item number 5. Executive recruitment, an overview, GovHR. I think we have several people. Mark, you're with us, Mark Peterson, and Jim Hart.
Yes, I am.
I'm here, Mr. Mayor.
Very good, very good. So it talks about some introductory. I think we've done some of that, but thank you for being part of this process. And it's one of these, I'll call it a double-edged sword. We are not happy that we have to engage with you because we have a wonderful gentleman retiring. So that part is not good, but we do look forward to the next chapter in the city's life here in finding a good quality candidate. So with that, the rest is yours, Mark and Jim.
Excellent, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much. We're delighted to be with you. And Jim and I look forward to working very closely with you and the members of the council on this very, very important recruitment process. Ordinarily, this is the point where we have what we call our regular kickoff meeting. Well, we're doing kind of a slimmed down version of the kickoff meeting this evening because this kind of sets the stage for some individual conversations with with the mayor and each member of the council, which we will be scheduling. We'll be following up after this meeting with each of you individual to schedule those conversations at a time that's convenient for you. So this is a kind of again, a slimmed down version of our usual kickoff meeting, but it is the plan, I understand, to have a more robust conversation, a much longer meeting where Jim and I will appear in person on the 22nd. I believe that's the plan that I spoke with Rob about. But we felt it was helpful to get together just to provide some base information to each of you that will hopefully make our one-on-one conversations over the next couple of weeks more productive. Hopefully you received a kind of a discussion outline that I sent out for this meeting. And then we also sent, I believe Rob forwarded to you, a draft of a recruitment schedule for the city manager position. And I'm doing most of the talking tonight, but my colleague Jim Arndt will be highly involved in this process. And I've asked Jim to just jump in if I miss anything or there's something that we might need to clarify. But if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and turn to that schedule and walk you through it. And this is really sort of the meat of the meeting tonight. This is a very preliminary draft schedule. This isn't a final schedule. This is a starting point. And I just want to give you this is what you might see in a typical city manager recruitment. However, we will be talking with you individually as well as a group to see how you might want to modify this schedule. When I sit down to work with city councils on a recruitment of this nature, one of the first things I say is, this is your process, not ours. And you have to be comfortable with the process at the end of the day. And we will offer our guidance, our expertise, our professional advice. Jim and I have both sat in the chair. We've both been city managers, and we've both done a lot of recruitment. So we do have, I think, some expertise that we can pass along and help you with. But at the end of the day, it's your decision, and it needs to be a process that you all are comfortable with, because the ultimate decision is yours, and you are the people that are accountable for that decision. So I want to make sure that whatever process is ultimately adopted, that it's one that you feel good about and you feel will hopefully deliver a very positive outcome for the city of Rock Island. But what I'd like to do is sort of share what is kind of a typical process for a city manager recruitment. As I say, a starting point, we can modify this however you see fit. But I'd like to walk through this to give you a sense of the intricacies involved. Jim and I are going to be your best friends over the next 16 weeks or so. And we just want you to understand sort of where this is going to take us. And then when we talk to each of you individually, we'll solicit your feedback and your suggestions. And then once we collect all that information from you individually, we'll meet as a group, and hopefully we can reach a consensus on a process. And then in that meeting on the 22nd, there's a lot of other details that we need to talk about, which are some of which are listed on your discussion outline for tonight. But those are future conversations. We don't need to address those this evening. And even though we're both happy to take questions that you might have this evening, I know our time is limited. So you might want to save those if you choose to for our one-on-ones, which will be scheduled soon. This is a rough outline of a schedule. It shows our meeting tonight, or the preliminary kickoff meeting. It also shows over the next several days, over the next few weeks, we will be reaching out to each of you individually, and I suspect those conversations will take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. And then on November 22nd, we will have sort of the official kickoff meeting where we will report, as I said, what we've heard from each individual. And then we have a lot of preliminary early on decisions that we'd like to work through before we start preparing a position announcement and move forward in the process. But once we complete the kickoff meeting, the next step in the process is the position announcement. That's a fancy word for the job ad. And that's usually maybe a page and a half. And that's a sort of a summary of the position. It talks a little bit about the community. It talks about the form of government. It talks about some of the issues and challenges that the new city manager will face. It provides some information about the actual selection process. We include information about compensation and benefits, and it's basically the solicitation for potential candidates to apply. We also, as part of that process, will share with you a list of what we call ad sources, advertising venues, which will be a combination of professional association newsletters and pretty heavy into social media. We've all acknowledged that social media is a great way to get important information out to prospective candidates, but we will give you a list, and that includes a budget. I think we've set aside in our budget $2,500 for advertising, and that's about typical. We might be able to come in a little bit under that, save you a few dollars, but we do want to advertise the position far and wide so we don't miss any potential candidates. But we will draft that document. We will send it back to you for your review and approval to make sure you're comfortable with the document, which becomes our solicitation. And then from that point, we post it and we are off and running, and we are then seeking candidates. As a follow-up to that, is an additional step, we also prepare a recruitment brochure. It usually comes a week or 10 days after the position announcement is posted. And that is usually a 6 to 7 page, kind of a slick brochure that highlights the community, highlights the local government in Rock Island, and talks about in more detail about the position. The brochure really is two purposes. Number one, it provides a lot more information than we're able to provide in the position announcement because of space limitations, but it also becomes a marketing piece. We're very careful to be accurate in that document. We don't want to mislead candidates, but we also want to accentuate all the positive things about the city of Rock Island, as well as the position of city manager in Rock Island. We will again prepare that it's pretty slick with charts and photographs and text. And we will also share that with you once we have a draft before we distribute that to prospective candidates. Once you give us the approval to go forward with the brochure, we send that document out electronically to potential candidates that we identify in the GovHR database. We maintain a massive database that we will establish some parameters, maybe some states and some population sizes, but try to target candidates that we think might have an interest in the Rock Island position. I would say we will probably send out 600 to 700 direct solicitations from our database. And we will include the brochure. We will also attach the brochure to some of our other publications. So if people want to drill down and learn a little bit more about the position, and beyond what the position announcement offers, they can look at the brochure, and hopefully that will further entice them to submit application materials. During this process, and we are typically out for about 30 days. We need about 30 days to solicit applications. We think that's the sweet spot. During that 30 days, Jim, you're not doing much, but Jim and I are very busy. We are working our network. We are both making phone calls to people that we know in the profession that might be of interest. We're calling colleagues in other communities that might know of somebody that we should talk with. We have over 20 professional recruiters with GovHR. We are reaching out to the recruiters, our own staff of recruiters, asking them, who do you know out there that might be a good fit? Do you have a name? And then we'll follow up on those, all in an attempt not only to cultivate a large quantity of applications, but also hopefully attract high quality applications. It's nice to get numbers, but it's more important to get quality, and that's what we're really aiming for. So we are very busy during this period. Once you have kind of given your approval for everything in writing, we are very busy soliciting candidates. Once the application period closes, and I think we show it on this very preliminary draft is January 14th. And again, it's a little complicated because we've got the holidays involved, and that's kind of a dead period. So we extend a little longer to get through the holidays, but we're showing an application deadline of January 14th. Then over the next 2 weeks, we are taking a deep dive. When I say we, Jim and I are taking a deep dive into the applicant pool. We are carefully reviewing all of the submittals. We're making phone calls, we're checking with colleagues. So if there's somebody that we aren't familiar with, we try to get to know them. And through that process, we try to identify what we think are the strongest candidates. And it depends on the size of the pool, but ordinarily, we're looking at anywhere from 12 to 20 candidates that we've identified as those that clearly meet the minimum qualifications that you will outline. You will establish that for us, but also look like they're the right fit. And fit is something that is really, really important. It's not easy necessarily to glean from a resume, but it's something that is a very legitimate hiring criteria. And ultimately, you all know what is the best fit for the city of Rock Island and the best fit for the organization. Jim and I will do our best to learn about that and try to, as best we can, interpret that fit. but ultimately this is a decision that you will make as part of the selection process. Once we have identified what we think are the best candidates, then we do preliminary background checks. We will call at least 2 references for each of those candidates, even though we've still got a fairly large group. We will do preliminary internet search. It's amazing what you can find out online on social media about a candidate. And we may find out some things that we choose not to pursue a particular candidate or not. And we also, something that GovHR does is Jim and I will interview every single one of those individuals through Zoom. And usually those interviews last anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. That's typical. And that is to get to know them a little bit, to sort of hear what their communication style is, to check out any red flags that we might have run across in our background check, and just to try to get a better sense of fit for those candidates. Once we go through that process, then we will sit down with all of you and present what we call the Recruitment Portfolio. And that is a large document that contains all the information that we've gathered on these top candidates. It also has information on all the other candidates that we didn't look at closely. And we can talk about those. We'll have a meeting with you in Rock Island, and that meeting will likely take 2+ hours because there's a lot of ground to cover. But during that meeting, if there's some candidates that you look at and said, boy, they look pretty good, why didn't you include these in your top group? We will explain why we didn't. And if there's somebody there you want us to look at, we will include them. We'll send this report, by the way, out in advance so you have a chance to study it before we sit down and go through it. But of the top candidates, we will share with you everything that we've learned about them, and we will actually group them into 2 tiers. We will have the tier 1 candidates, which Jim and I will have determined that we believe are the strongest of the candidates. They meet your profile. They seem to have all of the skill sets that you're looking for, and they appear to be the strongest. Then we will put some candidates in tier 2. Those are good candidates, but may have something missing here or there, not quite as strong as the tier 1, and we'll explain why. And then once we go through that process with you and answer all of your questions, we will look to you to provide us guidance as to which of those candidates do you want to continue to consider. There's preliminary steps, but oftentimes city council say, okay, let's pick out 5 or 6 and invite them to the community interview. And then we coordinate that whole process. We handle everything. We manage the schedule. We prepare a schedule for you. We will work on other activities. If you want your staff involved, if you want a community group involved, if you want give them a tour of the community, all those things, we will work with you to identify what that process is, and then we will coordinate the process. And we will stay with you until you make a selection. And even once you make a selection, if you choose, we will help facilitate the negotiation of the final terms of an employment agreement. As I think I said in our previous session together, we are with you till the end. So if for some reason we don't find what we're looking for and we have to go back out again, we're back out again with you at no additional cost. Hopefully that won't happen, and I'm very confident that we will bring you some high quality candidates. But in the event that it does, we're with you till the end, till the position is filled and you're satisfied. And then of course, we provide a 1-year guarantee. If something happens during that first year that the candidate leaves the position for whatever reason, then we will undertake that follow-up search at no cost to all of you. So, and we've got there, you had asked for some special activities like public speaking exercises, writing exercises. We will build all of those things into the selection process, and as well as some leadership testing, which is another thing that you expressed an interest in undertaking, and that will all be part of the process. And a lot of those details we will be discussing with each of you on our one-on-ones. And then when we come back together as a group on the 22nd, we will try to nail down what that process is, both on the front end as you're trying to establish what do you want in a city manager, what skills, what personality traits. That's part of the front end, and you may want some outside groups involved in that process as well, but also on the back end when you're actually making a selection. So I'm going to stop talking for a minute, see if there's any reaction. Let me first ask Jim, did I miss anything? Jim?
Yeah, I would just add, Mark, that.
He looks frozen. Okay.
Am I here? Yep. I would just add that.
I can hear you. Your image is frozen.
On this search, we have the resumes and cover letters will also be shared with the city council on the 20th of January. So they'll get a peek at all the resumes and cover letters that we receive.
Absolutely. Yeah, you will receive all of that. Yes. So let me stop there and see if there are any questions. Again, you'll have the opportunity to question us during our one-on-ones, but if there's anything that you'd like us to address this evening, we'll be happy to talk about this schedule. Again, it's very preliminary, it's just a starting point.
We have one here.
Ms. Alderman Poulos, and just a few questions with regard to the, you said you were going to do some checking on their public speaking ability, and who's going to be present during that evaluation? How is that going to be done?
Well, we will talk with you about that. That's typically done towards the latter end of the process, usually your finalists, and we will discuss how you would like that handled, whether you or a subset of the council would like to be present, or all of the council members, or if you want staff involved in doing that, or if you'd like us involved. We're completely flexible, and we will provide you with some options, and you'll choose which one you like. So it's not determined yet, how that exercise will be managed, but you will ultimately decide how it's done based upon your preference.
And then with one other, if I may, with regard to, after you narrow the list down, with regard to the background checks, is that something that your organization will handle?
Yes, we will, particularly with the finalists. We actually hire third parties that have expertise. We will do criminal background checks. We will do a deep dive into the internet, not just a Google search. We will look under every internet rock, and we hire a company that's what they do. That's their specialty. We will verify all of their educational achievements. We will verify all their past employment. We will do, we'll do a credit check and check their financial background. All of that information we do as part of our package.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions out there?
You're welcome.
Not hearing any, so hopefully it's not muted and trying to say something.
Mayor, if I may, again, we'll be in touch with each of you individually within the next few days to schedule one-on-one conversations. But there's a list of I think in item 4 of the discussion guide, important considerations. Be thinking about those, particularly be thinking about the skill sets that are most important to you think are most important, as well as personal attributes or characteristics. And what I plan to do is Jim and I will send out to each of you in advance a list of all kinds of skills and personality traits, and ask you to identify the 5 on each sheet. One will have professional skills, the other will have personality traits. Identify the 5 on each sheet that are most important to you. And what we like to do is we like to compare notes afterwards. And I think what we ordinarily find is there's a lot of consistency among elected officials. Even if they think there's not, we find a lot of consistency. So we will, again, use that in trying to develop a profile of the candidate that we're looking for. And we will use that information as we begin to screen applicants for this process. So we will send that document out in advance of our our one-on-ones with you and ask you to either return it to us or just be prepared to share with us during that conversation what you find to be the most important things you'd like to see in the next city manager.
Good.
Any other questions? Again, we'll get into a lot more detail on the 22nd. There'll be a lot more back and forth, give and take, but this is just designed to sort of give you a general overview. And then there's obviously a lot to talk about over the coming weeks.
I'm assuming the individual scheduled, maybe I'm jumping ahead, individual meetings will be by Zoom or whatever it is, or are they going to be in person?
Yes, they'll be by Zoom. Either we'd like to do a video link, whether it's WebEx or Zoom,
Yeah,
or there's
whatever.
various things we
Yep.
can do. If you prefer just to do it over the phone, we can even do just a phone call or FaceTime. But yeah, that will be done virtually. The meeting on the 22nd, however, we will be present for that.
Okay. Anybody have any questions so far? All right, Mark, anything else?
That's all I have. That's all we wanted to cover with you, just sort of set the stage. And then we look forward to talking with each of you individually and in hearing your perspectives on not only the schedule, but some of the mechanics of the process. And we'll help guide you through that. And then we really look forward to being in town on the 22nd and spending, again, probably at least 90 minutes with you. We have a lot of business to conduct during that meeting, so we'll look forward to it. Thank you. We are excited about this process. We are, Jim and I have already been comparing notes and been already brainstorming candidates. So we look forward to move forward, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And I'm really optimistic that we'll be able to bring you some really strong candidates to consider.
Very good. Is any council member got any other questions? I'm not hearing any, so hopefully people are not having troubles getting unmuted or anything. All right. So Mark, Jim, is there any other comment?
All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, wait a minute, somebody's trying to say
Nope,
something.
we're good. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Okay, nobody, there was no council member wanting to speak up? Was that Jim?
I don't see anybody on here trying to talk.
Okay, never mind. Just want to make sure. Thank you very much. We look forward to it.
I think we're good. Thank you, Mayor. Have a good evening. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Geenan,
Yes.
Robinson, Hurt,
Yes.
Gilbert, Swanson,
Yes.
Parker,
Aye.
Pulis,
Aye.